introduce, where the issue of discrimination, a woman is not allowed to do some certain thing within the police force, so that we should abuse that completely. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, Nigeria generally applauded the National Assembly with the passage of Police Trust Fund Bill, which recently received the assent of Mr. President Muhammadu Buhari, the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. The reality is that police fund bill that was signed by Mr. President cannot function without adjusting the present Police Act. So we should be able to look at it in that dimension too. Should there be no adjustment in this, that Police Trust Fund Bill or Act, rather, since it has been signed by Mr. President, will not function the way we expect. Essentially, Mr. Speaker, this bill deserves the urgent attention as it leverages the existing legal gaps. Mr. Speaker, my respected colleague, I believe that this is a very straightforward piece of legislation, and therefore appeal for your overwhelming support that the bill should be read for second time and referred to the relevant committee of the House for further legislative action. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Gagdi. I think it's pretty straightforward. You've covered the very comprehensive. You've always been very passionate about police reform, so thank you very much. I don't think the police chairman is here. We're going to put the question, but I'll take Honorable Bamidele and then put the question.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. I'm Bamidele Salam. I represent the fantastic people of Ede North, Ede South, Egbedo Ejibo Federal Constituency of Osun State. And I rise this afternoon, Mr. Speaker, to lay my voice in support of this bill which has been proposed by my dear friend and colleague from Plateau State, Honorable Yusuf Gaji. And I want to say, like he rightly espoused in the late debate, to why Nigeria deserves a new act to guard the operations of our policing system, that every day we sit here, there's hardly a day when we sit without having one issue or the other bothering on security. And everywhere in the world, the police is the nucleus of that agency that coordinates issues of internal security of every country. And like my dear friend did say, it is rather unfortunate that the act we have at the moment is the same one that has been bequeathed unto us by the colonial masters. Mr. Speaker, almost every day we come into contact with our police. About a few weeks ago, I had the privilege of traveling, manage the recruitment, the process of recruitment into the Nigeria Police Force, to the extent that a lot of the men that today occupy the lower rank of the police system probably will be more useful doing other things in the service of the nation than of the police. And these are people that we entrust with the responsibility of carrying arms and enforcing the laws that are made by the National Assembly and the state houses of assembly. So my point is that it starts from the recruitment process. I believe strongly that this bill should also consider the basic the minimum requirement of being employed into the Nigeria Police Force, and the probability of that process of recruitment being charged into the hands of tested recruitment agencies with international reputation, because we cannot continue to have a situation where the traditional duties of the police today are being handled by the military, just because there is this assumption which is based by fact that the police lacks the capacity to handle some of these very important functions. The second thing, Mr. Speaker, is that I'm also happy that this bill talks about the general and specific objectives of the Nigeria Police Force. There's a saying that when the use of a thing, the purpose of a thing is unknown, abuse is inevitable. We cannot have an institution without specific goals, without specific purpose. And the present law, like has been highlighted by my colleague, does not have a set of goals which the Nigerian Police Force is supposed to enforce. And so there is, the constant cases of abuse, just like the one we had in Ogun State of recent, where a young footballer was, killed, whether by accident or by whatever, as a result of the police dabbling into an issue which ordinarily should not be, part of its purview. And then lastly, you spoke about the issue of security of tenure. Mr. Speaker, you will agree with me that when there is insecurity of tenure for those who hold offices, there is a higher tendency of them being manipulated by the appointers, the appointing authorities. And so if you do not have a security of tenure for the Inspector of Police, for the Commissioner of Police, there is a likelihood that the people who hold executive powers will be able to manipulate them and in most cases make them to act contrary to the law which establish them, because as human beings they will naturally want to protect that office and ensure that they have security of tenure. And then finally, I think where we should go actually, apart from amending this law, is that Nigeria, it is high time Nigeria started thinking about going through the international best practices of policing in a federal system of government. Every federation has different layers and tiers of policing. Nigeria must not be an exception. What we call the state police, unbundling of the police, or whatever word we want to call it, is right for us as a country if we want to have the best result from our policing system. I so submit, Mr. Speaker, that this bill is actually due for passage, and I support the motion that it should be read for a second time. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Those in support of the motion, please say aye. Those against, please say no. Okay, it's a bill. So we'll put that question again, that the bill be now read a second time. Those in favor, please say aye. Those against, please say nay. The ayes have it. Clerk is reading the wrong title.
Honorable Speaker, honorable members, the bill for now to repeat the Police Act, Chapter P19, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, and now the Nigerian Police Bill to provide the framework for the Nigerian Police Force, ensure cooperation and partnership between the police and host communities in maintaining peace and combating crimes, and for related matters. Second reading.
The chairman police is not here. Okay, please let me communicate with him. This needs to be fast-tracked. It involves the police. We're trying to reform the police. This needs to be fast-tracked. We'll refer to the Committee on Police Affairs. Fifth order of the day is a motion on need to assess the quality of work on the Abuja-Lokoja. Okay, we had already stepped this down. The sixth order of the day is a motion on need to support the victims of fire disaster at Agoro Market, Ikeremo, local government area of Bayelsa State, standing in the name of Honorable Frederick Agbedi. Honorable Agbedi is invited to move the motion. Is Agbedi here?
So, Speaker, Agbedi is not on the floor. I move that the motion be stepped down by the leave of the House. I so move.
Motion step down. Seventh order of the day is a motion on need to construct a flyover or roundabout at Jamari Gadao Junction on the Kano Maiduguri Expressway, standing in the name of Honorable Bashir Mashema. Honorable Mashema is invited to move the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My honorable colleagues, I am by name Honorable Bashir Obama Shema, member representing Jamare Itas Gadao Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I am from Bauchi State. I rise to move a motion on urgent need to construct a flyover or roundabout at Jamare Itas Gadao Junction on the Kano Maiduguri Expressway. Mr. Speaker, distinguished honorable colleagues, note that the welfare and the security of the people is the primary purpose of government, and in realization of that purpose, the federal government awarded a contract in 2006 for the construction of dual carriageway of 600 kilometers, road linking Kano, Jigawa, Bauchi, Yobe, Maiduguri at the cost of 50 billion naira to ease the transportation of people and goods. Also note The road passes through several communities, towns, cities, including Jamare, Itas Gadao Junction, where citizens of the area live along the federal highway. Aware that the Kano-Meduguri Expressway passes through both states and intersects with a state road linking Jamare to Itas Gadao. Informed that the intersection has become very dangerous since motorists on the highway are usually on top speed and there is no overhead bridge or roundabout to enable easy passage of pedestrians from communities along Jamare to Itas Gadao State Road. Concern that the intersection has become a death trap as accidents occur when residents attempt to cross the federal way as they are being knocked down by vehicles on daily basis. Hence, the need for construction of flyover or roundabout in Jamare Itas Gadao Junction along the Kano-Meduguri Expressway. Results: 2. Urge the Federal Ministry of Works and Housing to urgently construct a flyover or roundabout to ease residents cross the highway and also ease vehicular movement to reduce accidents on Kano-Meduguri Expressway. Mandate the Committee on Works to ensure compliance. Mr. Speaker, my honorable members, I so move. Thank you.
Yes. Please. Honorable Michelle, Doctor.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Able Speaker, honorable members, I stand to second the motion moved by Honorable Bashir. I so second, Mr. Speaker.
My honorable colleagues, section.
Okay, I believe this is an infrastructure motion, if I'm correct, and I'll just put the question. Those in support, please say aye. Those against, please say nay. Aye, is that it? Honorable Fago, this is yours. 8th order of the day is a motion on need to construct a multipurpose mini stadia in Shira and Giade Federal Constituency of Bauchi State. Stand in the name of Honorable Kani Abubakar Fago. Honorable Fago is invited to move the motion.
The right honorable speaker, sir, my honorable colleagues, good afternoon. I remain Honorable Kani
Honorable Babota.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I am from Bauchi State. Mr. Speaker, sir, I stand to present an important motion on the need to construct a mini multi-purpose stadium in Shira and Giade local government areas of Bauchi State. Mr. Speaker, sir, the House should note that support is a powerful tool in strengthening social ties and the network, and has been proven to be an effective catalyst for promoting feasible and locally driving development. Also note that sport is a tool for job creation and revenue generation, as individuals who are actively engaged in sport could drive their livelihood from games. And when sport facilities are leased out, revenue are also derived from them. However, that active engagement of the youth in sport will greatly reduce negative influences such as drugs and alcohol addiction, gang affiliation, criminality, and myriad form of antisocial activities to an appreciable extent, thus fostering nation building and economic development. Also aware that the youth of Shira and the local government areas are actively engaged in sport activities with an estimated 126 registered football teams, 6 volleyball teams, 3 hockey teams, 11 langa teams, 7 badminton teams, and 5 table tennis teams, and have over 25,000 sport fans and supporters across the 2 local government areas. Concerned that the youth of the local governments are unable to reach their full potential in sport development due to inadequate sporting facilities and stadiums. Hence, many of them have become discouraged and resorted to antisocial behavior for want of better ways to keep their ideal minds occupied. Cognizant that the construction of a mini stadium in each of the local government areas would generate huge revenue and create employment opportunities in the communities of Shira and Giade federal constituency. Also cognizant that the construction of multi-purpose mini stadium in Shira and Giade local government areas will not only be cost effective, but will also open avenues for participation in more variety of supporting activities, while providing opportunities for supporters to come together and encourage the youth to strive to be better, as well as attract investors to the communities of Shira and Giade federal constituency of Bauchi State in general. The House resolved to urge the federal government of Nigeria to make provision in the 2021 budget estimate for the construction of multi-purpose mini stadium at Shira and Giade local government areas of Bauchi State in order to encourage sport and youth development. And 2, mandate the committees on sport, youth development and appropriation to ensure implementation. Mr. Speaker, sir, my distinguished colleagues, I so submit.
Mr. Speaker. Actually, this matter is an infrastructure motion which does not require debate. Huh? What? Oh, okay. I thought you were debating. Who's this? Okay. Chairman agreed. You want to second? Salabi, I didn't recognize you in your dark suit. The chairman agreed.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Even though the fans are my name is Munir Babatan Agundi. I represent Kumbota Federal Constituency of Kano State. I want to second the motion ably moved by my colleague from Bauchi State on the need to construct multi-purpose mini stadium in Shira and Giade Federal Constituency of Bauchi State. I so second.
Okay, so I can go ahead and put the question, being an infrastructure motion. Those who support, please say aye. Those against, please say nay. Who? Shidi. Rima, of course. The ayes have it. The ninth order of the day is a motion on need to investigate the privatization. Okay. I think this matter is being stepped down. Or, where's Honorable Abonta? Is not here. Can you step down? Honorable Abonta has stepped out.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable Abonta is not on the floor. Yes, I move that the motion be stepped down by the leader of the House as almost.
Motion stepped down. The 10th order of the day is a motion calling on the federal government to partner with indigenous inventions to facilitate growth of inventions in Nigeria, standing in the name of Honorable Dennis Idahosa. Honorable Idahosa is invited to move his motion.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker, distinguished colleagues. I'm Honorable Dennis Idahosa. I represent the good people of Ovia-Fera constituency. Mr. Speaker, I'm from Edo State. I rise to move a motion that is extremely important to this great nation. I call on the federal government to partner with indigenous inventors to facilitate growth of inventors in Nigeria. The House notes that the need to facilitate growth of indigenous invention and inventors to be a par with the counterparts worldwide cannot be overemphasized as the global economy landscape is experiencing rapid changes. Aware that the globalization, among others, is creating considerable new opportunities and new challenges by plethora of breakthroughs, thus making significant progress in driving the economy. Also note that the notable inventors of Nigeria extraction with remarkable inventions are making waves in science and technology world, among whom are Philip Mogwale, Adepoju Shahid, Jalini Alihu, Ndubisi Edekwe, Colonel Obianu Avide, retired Emeka Uwenkwebu, Erino Gabet Olu Atanda, Dr. Osato Ame Osemige, and Salas Adekule. Also aware that in 2011, in Birmingham, Kebbi, former President Goodluck Jonathan said Nigeria was going to run its economy based on science and technology because Nigeria cannot move its economy forward without science and technology, and that emphasis will be placed more on science and technology, without which Nigeria was dreaming. Further aware that 8 years after, President Muhammadu Buhari urged Nigerian universities to intensify efforts at making discoveries and inventions that can assist the development of the country, stating over 53 years after independence, Nigerian universities were slow in making discoveries and inventions. Equally aware that from verifiable statistics, most of the Nigerian inventors are working alone without government or corporate support, and the lack of investments in this area has hindered research and development in strategic industries. Believe that over 60% of Nigerian population is below 30 years and are in touch with changing world and the advancement in technology, and therefore the right time for more government participation in supporting inventions and discovery is now. Cognizant that the key to greatness among the Committee of Nations is the full utilization of potentials of Nigerians' youth force in area of technological advancement. Resolve, all the federal government to support indigenous inventors and inventions companies. Mandate the Committee on Science and Technology to interface with federal government, Federal Ministry of Science and Technology on the state of implementation of the national policy on science and technology, especially on policy incentives to Nigerian youth for career development in science and technology. Fields and report back within 4 weeks for further legislative actions. Mandate the Committee on Legislative Compliance to ensure compliance. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I so move.
Okay, did we second this? Okay, just move this, but Honorable, please second.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, honorable members. Kwamoti Bitrus Lowry, representing Numan Jamsa Lamudi, I so second the motion.
Honorable Dahosa, please lead the debate.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. I remain Honorable Dennis Idahosa, representing of Biafra constituency. Mr. Speaker, let me start by compelling the leadership of this nation, the President of Federal Republic of Nigeria, General Muhammadu Buhari, the President of the Senate, Lawan Mohammed, and our Right Honorable Speaker, Femi Gbajabiamila. Mr. Speaker, science and technology is the bedrock of every nation. So, Mr. Speaker, all the leadership that are in helm of affairs today, I think the right time to feast or to invest in science and technology is now. If the leadership of this nation fails to invest in science and technology, I believe the generations to come will have us to judge. So, Mr. Speaker, and the honorable members, science and technology in every nation is very, very important. In short, it will create a lot of job opportunities for this nation. Like I stated in my motion, Mr. Speaker, most of the highest population of this nation are the youths, which falls under the below the 30 and below. So, Mr. Speaker, I'm less than 40 years of age. Most of my age group, they don't have job. The unemployment rate in this country, Mr. Speaker, I believe is over 80%. Mr. Speaker, there's a reason why we were voted into this office. On science and technology, let me cite America for an example. America keyed into science and technology. That's why we have the likes of Bill Gates in software, Microsoftware. We have the Amazon, we have the Google, we have the Facebooks. So, Mr. Speaker, in Asia, we have Japan and China. They keyed into science and technology. In Europe, we have Germany, Mr. Speaker. They keyed into science and technology. That's why they are able to create a lot of automobile that we use here in Nigeria. But, Mr. Speaker, here in our country, we are supposed to be the giant of Africa. We are supposed to take the lead when it comes to science and technology. So, Mr. Speaker, this time is the right time for the leadership of this nation to encourage the indigenous inventors within this country, because most of our professionals here, they live here and they are topping charts in all the technological world in other various countries. But here in Nigeria, they are not being supported. So we need to support the local inventors so that at the end of the day, they will create more job opportunities for our teeming youth. I so move, Mr. Speaker. Thank you very much.
Honorable Agusoi, then Honorable Sir Satori.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. My name is Prince Rotimi Agunsoye, representing Koshope Federal Constituency of Lagos. Mr. Speaker, I rise to support this laudable motion being sponsored by my colleague, Idausa. If you could recall the time of Chairman Mao of China, this was what he did to his nation to bring China out of the challenges they were facing at that time. So it would be nice if our country, if our government can have a village for inventors to be in the village, to put heads together, to research and do what can be meaningful, what can, help those brilliant out of school graduates. Because if you go to America, they will tell you that Nigerians are doing well there. If you go to any part of the world, they will tell you Nigerians are doing pretty well there. So it is important, if government will take this seriously, to have a kind of village for those scientific researchers to be, and government will really invest in that. It will do a lot of good for this country. I support the motion, and I appeal to my colleagues to support this laudable motion. Thank you.
Honorable Satori.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My name is Engineer Satomi Ahmed. I represent the good people of Jere Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I'm from Borno State. I rise to support this very important motion, heavily moved by my colleague, about the federal government to support the innovation or the inventors of a development. He precisely mentioned science and technology, and if we look at the world, the global world entirely, science and technology plays roles virtually in all aspects of our life today. And considering ICT as a unit, the statistics shows over 3 billion people have access to the mobile phone across the globe. This implies that more than 2.5 billion people have access to internet. And this will make research innovation so easy, considering in Nigerian context, if we can support, as rightly mentioned by my colleague, the village, let me put it as a development hub for the younger people to come together, to connect together across Nigeria. Is only ICT that can give direct and indirect employment opportunities to our teeming unemployed youth in this country. Mr. Speaker, looking at Facebook and other young platforms, the richest man in the world, Mark Zuckerberg, is the inventor of Facebook. And today, within shortest possible period of a time, Facebook has captured the entire globe. And we have the best young people in this country, that if the opportunity, the support is there, looking at the innovation, supporting research and development, definitely Nigeria will be the best place to be. Considering all the aspects of life, if we can also utilize the opportunity of well-connected young Nigerians that have the technical know-how of today's technology, to induce them into our system, such as the security, our finance regulation, and other aspects. There is no aspect of this government that we then can go without technology. So looking at technology in wider perspective, the government has to come and support the younger youths here in this country to enable them exhibit what they have achieved as a development within and outside the country. Just of a recent, majority of the professors and best researchers in America virtually are Nigerians. Looking at the research and development available in our federal institutions and other institutions of learning is only supporting the technology that can give a viable opportunity for the young people in this country. Therefore, I rise to solidly support this motion, Mr. Speaker, and my colleague to support and to look into science and technology as one of the vital tools of development in considering our nation's predicaments today. Thank you, Mr. Speaker and honorable colleagues.
Thank you, Engineer Stomy. I'll just put the question. Those in support of the motion, please say aye. Those against, please say nay. Ayes have it. Honorable colleagues, the 11th order of the day is a motion on need to investigate the degrading sex slavery Nigerian women are subjected to, standing in the name of Honorable Shaulu and 8 other members. Honorable Kwewum Shaulu is invited to move the motion.
Honorable Speaker, distinguished colleagues, my name is Rumande Shaulu Kwewum, representing Takum, Donga, Osa, and Yangtu Federal Constituency in Taraba State. The need to investigate the degrading sex slavery Nigerian women are subjected to. The House notes the assurances given by President Muhammadu Buhari in Sochi, Russia last year, to the effect that the Nigerian government will stretch its reach and capacity to protect Nigerians all over the world. The House also notes that presently there are several tens of thousands of women who have been turned into sex slaves around the world. And reports in the media show that Nigerian women and even underage girls have been turned into sex slaves in European and several Middle East countries. The House concerned that even neighboring West African states, which depend on Nigeria for their well-being and security, have become notorious in maltreating Nigerian women, keeping them as sex slaves and providing safe haven for perpetrators of human trafficking. The House also aware that the National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons, NAPTI, has conducted several investigations and discovered as follows. A, that between 20,000 to 30,000 Nigerian girls are sex slaves, with additional 50 girls being added every day in Mali alone. 2, because of increased efforts of security agencies, traffickers no longer accompany their victims to Mali, but now we build the girls through a town in Cotonou. 3, many of the victims were deceived by friends and relatives to leave Nigeria for greener pastures, mostly domestic work, such as hairdressing or sales in Malaysia, only to discover later that they are being used as sex slaves in Mali and not in Malaysia. 4, Nigerian girls are trafficked mainly to the mining areas in south and central part of Mali, but a substantial number are trafficked to rebel-held areas in the north of Mali, where they stand the risk of being radicalized. 5, some of the victims were taken away from Nigeria, some in school uniforms, and are being treated like slaves and less than second-class citizens by the Malian authorities, and their law enforcement agencies collect taxes from these Nigerian women on a weekly basis and force them to use condoms. 6, Nigerian women are forced by their madams to sleep with numerous men without using any protection, hence the high incidence of sexually transmitted diseases and other ailments among them. 7, the border point between Nigeria and Benin Republic at Semikreke is notoriously porous, and in spite of numerous reports and pictures of notorious trafficking sent to Nigerian security agencies at the border, no serious action has been taken so far to curb the practice. The House also aware that recently the Nigerian ambassador to Burkina Faso, Ramatu Ahmed, alerted that no fewer than 10,000 Nigerian women, mainly underage girls, are forced into prostitution in Ouagadougou and other mining camps around West Africa. Worried that the continuation of this activity dents the image of the country and provides room for other West African countries to disrespect not just Nigerian women, but all Nigerians. Also concerned that several of the girls tricked into traveling out of the country have been brutally penalized for insisting that they will not prostitute. For instance, in some cases, according to Kevin Harlan, Britain's anti-slavery commissioner, women who insist that they will not work as prostitutes are tied up in a position called crocodile, where their hands are tied to their feet and are left for days without food or water, and some are left to die as an example to others. Informed that in 2019, there's a typographical error there, 2019 alone, 15 young Nigerian women were killed in Mali to instill fear in other women who may have the intention of trying to escape from Mali. Aware that Section 142B of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999, provides that the government has the responsibility to provide for the security and welfare of Nigerians, and observes that the current efforts to combat the menace are commendable, though not far-reaching and comprehensive enough, and have not been adequately funded. The House resolves, 1, to urge personnel of the Immigration Service at the ports and other borders of Nigeria to permit trained NAPTI officials to operate, to spot, identify, and prevent the illicit immigration of potential victims, and in long term, given the low budget of NAPTI, to make it mandatory for all border officials of all security agencies to be trained by NAPTI to be able to spot traffickers and victims and potential victims. 2, also urge the National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons, NAPTI, to begin to shame traffickers in their homes, including the widespread publication of the names and pictures of convicted traffickers. And 3, finally, to mandate the House Committee on Human Rights to conduct investigation into all aspects of sex slavery and recommend appropriate budgeting, legislative measures, including sanctions and cooperation with fellow African countries to stem the tide. I so move, Honorable Speaker.
Does anybody want to, Honorable Shida? Danjuma.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm Honorable Danjuma Osman Shidi. I represent Ukari, before comes from Taraba State. I rise to second this very important motion, heavily moved by my brother, Honorable Shaul. Thank you.
Okay, Honorable Shaulu, you can lead the debate.
Thank you, Honorable.
Sorry, today is a day of distractions.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I'll just say a few sentences on this matter. If you Google today, just go to any search engine and Google sex slavery of Nigerian girls. You see pictures that will make you shed tears. And the fact of the matter is that this practice is continuing and increasing, it is not decreasing. And unfortunately for us, we are not paying enough attention in terms of budgeting, in terms of security attention to stopping the tide of people moving out. Some voluntarily, some are deceived, some are kidnapped, and we have so many people around in the West African coast that are doing degrading activities that will make you feel ashamed and be afraid of what could happen to your daughter, your sister, or any other person that is related to you. Honorable Speaker, it is important that we as a House take some action on this matter because a lot of resources officially of the Nigerian government, of the Nigerian people, go to support some of these countries that are engaged in some of these activities against our people. It is not that they are the only ones that are committing the crime, but the fact of the matter is that substantially a lot of things that are happening there, those countries don't allow them to happen to their citizens. And that is one of the reasons why it is important that we have to take some actions to protect our citizens. A lot of things, impression that people give, that things are bad in Nigeria, the economy is bad, things are not working well. Well, a lot of it may be true, but substantially, life in this country, in spite of our challenges, is far better than life in most parts of West Africa. And so we deceive the people that don't know much are deceived to go out of the country for better life. And that better life does not exist in other parts of the country, other parts of West Africa. And it's very unfortunate also because there is a new wave of attention to Nigeria and to other parts of West Africa. People are trying to come back to invest in Africa. People want to come back to Nigeria and make money. The Chinese are coming, the Europeans want to come because a lot of things in the economy have not been developed. There's still so much resources. There's still so much to be done in the economy. Yet we have painted the picture that things are so bad in the country that people go out of Nigeria thinking that life outside Nigeria, especially in West Africa, is better than in Nigeria. And there's nowhere that you go that things are actually better than we have in Nigeria. And look at the situation that we have today. A lot of the young girls, some that are kidnapped in uniform, that are in Mali, are operating. If you Google, you see the pictures of where they are living in. Is where not even your dog, you are allowed to live in such type of places. And they are forced to sleep with 20, 30 people in a day to be able to pay. And the fact of the matter also is that a lot of these people who go through this degradation, when they are finally freed, they now want to also enslave other people. So we need to do something very urgently in terms of our laws, in terms of empowering the security agencies to be able to do something about the situation that we have. We need to do a lot of reorientation among our people, that what they are seeking to do outside, they can actually do it inside. If you even go to Europe, if you see some of the jobs that Nigerians are doing in Europe, cleaning of dead bodies, sweeping floors, cleaning of toilets, some of those things they could use the creativity that they have within the country and achieve a lot. So I'm urging this House to allow this motion to go so that our Committee on Human Rights will be able to go and check and do these investigations properly, so that we'll also be able to know what legislative things, what legislative options, what budgetary options we have to stem this tide. And finally, we need some West African countries that are depending on Nigeria for so many things and maltreating Nigerians. This committee also needs to go to investigate, so that we know how we give our help and assistance. Do we assist countries and entities that are frustrating Nigerians, that are making Nigerians look very bad? Honorable Speaker, thank you for the opportunity, and I urge fellow members that we pass this motion and allow the committee to go and do further investigations. Thank you very much.
It's not infrastructure motion. No, not for the vote.
Honorable Sada. Honorable Sada, then Honorable Rotimi, and then we can close.
Solely representing Jibia Kaita Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, this motion is a very worrying motion to any concerned Nigerian. Mr. Speaker, it is a known fact. This menace can be categorized as a modern-day slavery, which involves this illegal trade of people for exploitation or commercial gain. And if we look at this global industry, the amount of money involved in this global industry, if I may say so, is ranging to about $150 billion. So it is about enterprise. So it is a huge criminal syndicate worldwide to deal with. It requires multilateral cooperation, which I know there is, but it's not enough. With regards to Nigeria, this fight somehow is left to the federal government. I think the state's government should key in. I applaud the efforts of Edo state government for enacting a legislation in order to address this kind of problem, and as well as Delta State, they are doing very well. But this problem, Mr. Speaker, should involve all our states, all our local governments to come up with legislation that will help the efforts of federal government in stemming this kind of problems. Mr. Speaker, if you look at around 2016, there are well over 12,000 young girls from Nigeria involved in this kind of obnoxious trade, obnoxious business in Europe, Asia, and some Arab countries. Mr. Speaker, this global criminal industry requires the support of each and every country. But the problem here is the entrepreneurial aspect that is involved in it. If you look at the value chain of this sex slavery, it begins from homes. I do not want to get involved in mentioning geographical jurisdictions where this thing is somehow almost being legitimized. So there is need for advocacy, there is need for our religious institutions to get involved into this, and also the political will of leaders that are involved in dealing with affairs of the public. So it is a collective responsibility of all sectors of governance in order to address this problem. But because the money that is involved in this global criminal industry, it is difficult to deal with without strong legislations from countries, jurisdictions, and even local entities so that they can deal with this matter. Mr. Speaker, there is need for legislative initiative of this House so that we can strengthen our laws and also encourage the states to follow suit, to come up with legislations that will strengthen these laws so that we can help to address this problem. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Aguswe.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Dear colleagues, my name is Prince Rotimi Agunsoye, representing Koshofe Federal Constituency of Lagos. I rise to speak to this motion on the need to investigate the degrading sex slavery Nigerian women are subjected to. Dear colleagues, this is a signal that there is serious problem in the nation. You see, we are looking at the face of the problem without looking at the root cause of the problem. The truth of the matter is that joblessness can lead to this kind of a problem. Even back home, without going to other countries, our women are facing the same problem. I'm supporting this motion, but I'm only addressing the root cause that we need to address in our country to ensure that our women do not go for this kind of cheap labor. Back for grant, money for hand. It is shameful. So it is important, dear colleagues, that we talk to ourselves and other people in position of authority to see what we can do to alleviate poverty in the land. We are going through stress in Nigeria. I support the motion, but we need to move forward to see what can be done to alleviate poverty. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Balogun.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My name is Honorable Adebayo Balogun, representing Ibejuleki Federal Constituency of Lagos State. Well, this is a matter that has actually gone deep into the fabric of this country. But we need to actually do a lot of reorientation, because most of the people who are actually getting involved in this trade, like we rightly said, were actually deceived into it. So I think NAPTIC, the agency, the diaspora agency should do a lot of reorientation for our people, for the young girls especially, and in the rural areas also, because these are the areas where they recruit most of these people. They do have means of communication that gives them information as goes within the other areas within the country. Most of these areas don't even have radios because there are no electricity for them to listen to radio, to listen to television. So there must be local means of communicating and disseminating information at these rural areas. Because when someone comes home with just one little jalopy, and they believe the person have actually made it, because what they give them is wrong impression. Because we must actually look at how they recruit. We must cut that chain of supply. That is the vital thing for us to do. And also, we must emphasize dignity of labor in this country. Because what do we do with them? All those people that go through this route for seeking for greener pasture, what kind of job do they go there to do? They do all these vocational jobs, menial jobs. But when they are told to do these things at home, they are shy. They feel they cannot do it. I come from Ibejuleki. The Lekki coastal, the Lekki axis is the fastest moving construction area now. There are a lot of construction activities within that area. But how many Nigerians are doing those construction jobs? You see people in the bricklaying industry coming from Cotonou, Republic of Benin. You see the tilers coming from Republic of Benin. And our people are not doing these jobs because they believe it's not what their own status. But when they go out of the country, they do worse jobs. So we must emphasize dignity of labor. So it is what you actually make in life that actually determines who you are. It is not what you pass through. So our young ones should be able to see that in making it in life is not only through the wearing of coats and ties, going to offices, but it is when we develop our vocational trade. These are where the government has been actually emphasizing so much, putting so much money. But most of our children are not seeing it. They don't even see the beauty in doing all these professional jobs. Many times, honorable members train and empower children, our constituents. But most of the time, after empowering them, before you know it, they've dropped whatever you've trained them, they've dropped the trade, only for them to be running after you again, talking about I want to travel, I want to be going to Dubai for business. Everybody wants to make it big immediately. So we must continue to let people know that yes, an ocean is made up of little drops of water. So it is very, very important that vocational jobs, vocational trade should be emphasized in this country to ensure that we make them drift away from this unseen circumstance they put themselves into. Because, and we should also please talk to the agency in charge of diaspora. Probably if you have to tell some of our people over there, it is not good enough for them to deceive those ones at home. Many of these people over there live in abject poverty, but because they are abroad, many people here believe everybody lives in abroad actually makes money. If you go to United States of America or Britain, you see citizens of America living under the bridge. British citizens living under the bridge. All their belongings are being put in a cart and they carry their own belongings around the country within the cart. So it is this image that they create within their mind that once you are abroad, you've made it in life must be discouraged. That is the only time we can actually stop this. That chain of supply must be broken, and I think NAPTEC and the other relevant agencies must continue to emphasize that, so that this horror our women and young boys too, it's not just women, their sexual trade on the other sex too. There are a lot of homosexualism going on. So most of our boys too are also engaged in this trade. So our appeal to relevant agencies to do a lot of publicity, do a lot of reorientation, and making it get down to the rural areas where such information are not getting to as at now, so that this will actually be nailed in the bud once and for all. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Okay, I think it's time to put the question. Those in support, please say aye. Oh. Observation? What's the observation?
I'm Architect Ibrahim Al-Mustafa Aliyu, member representing Rundo Abafra constituency. Mr. Speaker, I'm from Sokoto State. Mr. Speaker, I want to draw the attention of the House to the main body of the motion. In fact, paragraph 4.1. Paragraph 4 reads, aware that the National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons, NAPTIP, has conducted several investigations and discovered that 20,000 to 30,000 Nigerian girls are sex slaves, with 50 additional girls being added in the list every day. Mr. Speaker, there is need for us to be factual in whatever maybe we are bringing before the House. If in every day we have an additional 50 girls added to the list of 20 to 30,000 Nigerian girls as slaves, girls, somewhere, I think by now we should be talking about 1 million or over. Unless we forget, Mr. Speaker, all this issue have to do with the poverty level, issue that have to do with lack of contentment, issue that have to do with lack of nationalism, and above all, moral background. So in as much as I'm in support of the motion, I want the mover of the motion to make a reflection and maybe, maybe joining the consideration of the motion at the committee level to find out the true statistic of this issue, Mr. Speaker. This is my observation.
Okay, thank you. I think it goes without saying that once it gets to the committee, it's part of the investigation to flesh out what is true and what is not true when they submit their report. Thank you. I think we'll just put the question. Those in support of the motion, please say aye. Those against, please say nay. Ayes have it. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable colleagues, my name is Avokan Samflata. I represent Plenary, Krikasama, Federal Constitution. Mr. Speaker, I'm from Jigawa State. Mr. Speaker, I move that items number 12, 13, and 14 on the order paper be stepped down by the leave of the House. I so move.
Go with it.
All the matters stepped down, right? Somebody was making observation. Oh. Okay, the leader has overruled you. I said you have overruled him. There is no need of thank you. Honorable members, there's a need to submit or to see the chairman on poverty alleviation, Honorable Dr. Salame, in his office. There are some forms that need to be picked up and filled out. And these forms are to be picked up and submitted before Friday the 28th. This is an announcement from Honorable Abdullahi Balarabe Salami, Chairman Poverty Alleviation. Very, very important. 2, today at the close of business today, we will close the list of submissions of nominees from states. We've gotten quite a few states, but if your state has not submitted the list of its nominee, please see the clerk unfailingly before 6 o'clock. Otherwise, the leadership will pick somebody for that state. We've announced this over and over again. Thank you. Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
1 second. Leader. Honorable colleagues, there will be a presentation by the House Services Committee tomorrow after sitting. This is a housing program for members, 028 tomorrow after sitting. For any further clarification, you can see Honorable Wale Raji, Chairman, House Services. Thank you. Leader.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, my honorable colleagues. Ado Dogwa is my name. Mr. Speaker, I rise to move that this honorable House do adjourn till tomorrow, the 27th of February 2020 at 11 a.m. Mr. Speaker, by your leave, I so move. Thank you.
Thank you. Deputy Leader.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I'm Comrade Peter Nyozuja, practicing MNI, representing Akoko Edo people. Mr. Speaker, my colleagues, I support the motion for adjournment as ably moved by the Leader of the House. I so second.
Those in support, please say aye. Those against, please say nay. House is adjourned till tomorrow, 11 a.m.